And welcome back to Who Would Win, and we're back to a theme to a win of the month. The Planeswalkers of Magic Gathering. Normally, I only get to around 2 of these guys during the themed week, or during the week of Who Would Win, because the month generally ends after the initial week run, and I usually just extend it into the few days leading up to the end of the month. However, in this one, the month actually ended on Thursday and starts on March started today, so figured I might as well just do it. And for those of you who don't play the game Magic the Gathering, there is a card game that's been around since the early 90s called Magic the Gathering. It is a fantasy-based card game. Really fun if you're into those kind of strategies and creatures and all the great stuff. In the lore, very expansive, pretty much an infinite amount of worlds known as planes, and people who can move, or characters who can move between these planes of existence are planeswalkers. We own a character known as Teferi. Now, Teferi is a time mage, a temporal mage. Blue magic, well, there are 5 colors of magic. He's a blue mage who specializes in time magic, particularly phasing things out of existence and putting them back in place unharmed. Essentially, what he does is he pretty much moves you through time, moves things through time to some degree. Now, that said, he's also capable of slowing things down, manipulating time, not like going back in time or forward in time, not like time travel, but capable of doing, time is slowing things down, speeding them up, stopping things temporarily. He's quite capable in that regard. He's not a physical fighter though. That is he's not. I mean, he could probably he has a staff with him usually. He could probably hit you with that, but he's not a I'm gonna fight you kind of fighter. He's a mage. He's the standard definition of a mage, and he's over, from what I can tell, he is over 3,000 years old. And that lends to God knows how much lifetime experience. That being said, though, he is older. In fact, his newest card interpretation of him from Dominaria looks a little bit like Idris Elba, who is a physically imposing dude when you actually look at him. But you can tell that he's aged a bit. So I had to pick someone who was also capable of manipulating time on some level. And when you really break it down, all the people who are capable of manipulating time in most levels are just more powerful than he is. Like what they're actually capable of doing. It's not time dilation so much as time travel. When I was looking up, I'm like, that won't work in this case. I need someone who can just manipulate time without time travel. And I figured, let's do Hit. Hit from Dragon Ball Super. For those of you who haven't watched Dragon Ball Super, thinking Dragon Ball Super was dumb in comparison to Z, well, some of it was. Some of it was really cool. It's all a matter of preference and opinion. Hit is... No, we don't know what Hit's race is. We know he is over 1,000 years old and is a master assassin of the 6th universe in the Dragon Ball universe. What he's capable of doing, though, is temporal... well, not temporal exactly. He can manipulate time in many ways, but what he's actually capable of doing is he is actually capable of moving ahead in time. Initially, it was like 0.1 seconds, then 0.2. As he fought with Goku, he was actually able to improve himself after so many years, so many centuries, probably not being challenged. And now he's like he can move a couple seconds into the future, and basically his style is to strike your vital points. Just, pressure point, ribs, gut, spleen, anywhere that's vital, he's going to hit you at. Added to the fact that he's also capable of hitting you with pretty much an invisible energy blast is what he uses. And so combine that with hitting with basically lethal points, and then you have someone who is immensely powerful, very dangerous. Add on to the fact that he's also able to hide himself, and basically he's able to store up the time he skips and hide himself in kind of like an extra temporal dimension. And basically you can't touch him while he's there. You can't touch, and it doesn't sound like a lot when you're talking about like increments of seconds, but when you're talking about someone who probably does it for a living day in, day out, and then also is over 1,000 years old, that stacks up after a while. And furthermore, if that doesn't work, he can also create doppelgangers that can hide his energy. You can disperse it between individuals. But if that doesn't work, he can also literally trap you in a cage of time, which if you're not stronger than time itself, like Jiren was, you're pretty much just going to be stuck. I think more or less what the manga kind of, the manga and the anime aren't the same. They're not written by the same people. But what the manga kind of implies what that was actually going on is that he affected time around Jiren, so Jiren moved slower. Like his actual, he would still probably move like himself, like how I'm perceiving myself moving right now, but it would take forever for him to do it. That's how I think it was being perceived. But he was so strong, he actually broke out of a time cage, is what happened. So if these guys went head toe to toe with each other, how would it break down? Well, Hit would probably Hit is a professional assassin. So let's assume that Teferi goes to Universe 6 for some reason. And, he's just making a name for himself, and Hit is tasked with taking him out. So I do fully believe that Teferi probably would, knowing the universe he's now in, would likely take precautions. So we probably have like some temporal barrier or something around here. Now the question is, can Hit sense other time manipulation and other time manipulators manipulating time? That's a lot of uses of the word time right there. Like, can he sense it when Vados, if Vados has ever done that, does that? I don't know. I have to go with the idea that no, he can't, but it's not out of the realm of possibility because they just never illustrated the idea that he could. So Hit immediately would talk about how I wait till my opponent faces me in the face so they've accepted their death, and then Teferi just is looking straight at him. He's like, trust me, I've accepted a lot of deaths. I'm not ready to accept mine. It's like I've accepted. Yeah, I didn't even think that's actually kind of good. Not like the master of all, but that's a good line. It's like, I've accepted a lot of deaths in my lifetime. Not ready to accept my own yet. And then Hit comes in to basically time skip. Now, no, here's the question, really. Because Teferi is a temporal mage, what affects, if he has like a time barrier where he slows things down, how does that affect someone who's already moving ahead in time? I'm imagining both their temporal interferences start to actually break space-time continuums, because two time manipulators manipulating time in different ways is a little taxing on the fabric of reality, just a little bit. So Hit immediately, he immediately slows down, and Teferi is actually able to get out of the way, and Hit's actually shocked, like, what? And kind of like mini explosions are starting to happen, like time rips are starting to basically. It's the set time spiral again. Basically, time rips are starting to open because they're two temporal manipulators who just clashed with each other. And then Teferi tries to cast a quick spell to slow down, try to freeze Hit, but Hit's already understands what's going on, so he basically uses I'd imagine he could use his time cage in reverse too, where he speeds things up, so he comes in again at Teferi, but he's still slowed down, so Teferi is still able to avoid him. Teferi is just using what he can the way he can. So he immediately uses his abilities to phase out the ground underneath Hit, who has to jump to try to get out of the way. But trust me, time shenanigans are hard to explain what's going on here. Hits gets basically is able to free himself up. Fires basically an invisible blast at Teferi, who, unfortunately, because he can't see it, his time manipulation doesn't mean anything. Even if he slows it down, he's still going to be hit by it. But slowing it down still means he gets hit by it. So he gets, and it's more like it's slowly drilling into him. So instead of like that, how fast they usually go, like kind of near light speed blasts, instead of that, it's more like getting hit by like a baseball or something like that. Fast, but boom, he gets, and then he tries to basically freeze. Basically, they try to freeze each other in time cages, and they both kind of just boom, and they're both stuck there. Just because here's the thing, you might think Hit went to that real fast. If he would be up against someone who can manipulate time almost as well, if not better than he can, you bet your ass that someone who's over 1,000 years old would be smart enough to use an ace like that and be like, okay, now I got to figure out how to do that. And I got to use this time to figure it out. But unfortunately, Teferi can just freeze him in time too. And also, unlike Hit, he doesn't need to focus to do that. He can just cast a spell and freeze time. So, yeah. Teferi, I think, has the better advantage here in terms of the actual time manipulation. And because of that, because Hit can't actually focus on the time here because he's stuck, he might be able to get out of it, but he can't ultimately he can't ultimately counter it immediately. So that gives Teferi enough time to get out of his cage and ultimately try to set up another spell. Hit eventually gets out of it and again throws another invisible shot at, tries to basically move as fast as he can to get towards Teferi. And I think he does hit him finally. But again, I think Teferi slows him down once again. And then Teferi's about to basically like, okay, this is over it. And then he's about to prepare a spell that phases him. Because Hit's slowed down, he can't get out of the way. But he's got one last trick up his sleeve. Not the time cage. No, he instead basically funnels all the time he had. And as Teferi starts to phase him out, he realizes something's off. And then Hit comes back again, and just smacks him right in the back, just and basically paralyzes him. Like hits him in basically a spinal column, hits him in the spinal column, hits him in a vertebra, which very much paralyzes him with the energy. It just and then Hit basically appears again. Hit's definitely worn out because like I have to do a lot here. He's like whoa, and he then turns around again. And actually walks in front of him. It's like, yes. It's like I told you. I don't kill anyone from behind. It's like, the paralysis is only temporary, unfortunately. And then he just holds his hand up right to him. This won't be. And then and stops Teferi's heart, and Teferi pretty much drops. Whew. So why does Hit win over Teferi? Or Teferi. Sorry, Teferi. I keep calling him Teferi. Teferi. Why does he win over this guy? Well, it's not an easy win on Hit's part because Hit's abilities to manipulate time don't ultimately manipulate his like he doesn't speed up individuals' time, he doesn't slow down individuals' time, he doesn't freeze people in time very often except with his final move. Whereas Teferi can do that like that. He can do that like that. However, Hit is just the more combat oriented of the two. Despite the fact that Teferi is over 3,000 years old and has that much experience, Teferi still Hit is still over 1,000 years old himself. He's still over a millennia old. And unlike Teferi, he spent all that time being active and killing people and being in combat. And he's capable of moving at speeds that are capable of keeping up with individuals like Goku at Kaioken Blue 20 or Kaioken times 10 Super Saiyan Blue, he can easily move at light speed in terms of his travel, striking speed, all of that. He can easily move at those speeds relativistic to Teferi. So while the time shenanigans would manipulate his speed and slow him down so he would not be striking with that fast, he would still be faster ultimately than Teferi, and therefore creating the fact that he has his own ways of manipulating time that can counter at least some of Teferi's abilities. The fact that he can release invisible energy strikes, which even with time manipulation, more likely slowing things down. Teferi couldn't block and therefore would get hit, and because Hit is ultimately more physically prone for combat than Teferi is, I gotta give it to Hit, but this is one of those fights where it's like, this is close. I gotta go 60-40 on this. I think 60% of the time the majority win goes to Hit, but let's not mince words. I think there is a reasonable 40% chance that Teferi could just phase out Hit ultimately if he wanted to. But what do you think? Who do you think wins this fight in the long term? Or the short term? Or the pause turn, to use time shenanigan lingo? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, watch the review setting. Put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win: Star Wars, Severe Magic, What If, anything I can do on the channel. Put that in the comments below. Let me know. I'll get to that at some point. So I do have one more video up for today that I'm going to do, and I'm going to be trying something different with it. It's not going to be amazing in terms of the graphics, but it'll be something technically better than what I've been. It'll be something other than my face for a change. I will, obviously, who wins throughout the remainder of the weekend. I got a what if I still need to catch up on, which I'll do probably tomorrow. And then the other what if on Sunday. The box office I got to do on Sunday. And I'll have probably the Pokemon Shield and Sword Galar region analysis up tomorrow. So I'm doing, both the videos I'm doing that are not going to have me on the screen are going to involve Pokemon. And if you like those videos, we'll get to that. We'll get the whole, but if you like them and you want me to do more videos like that, let me know. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time, folks.